Hello everyone, welcome to Study with Russ. Here I am bringing another video to discuss another question from the Sri Lankan GCE O-Level 2018 past English examination paper. And before I embark on the question, I would like to remind you all to subscribe my channel and also to click the bell icon. In that way, you all would get to know as and when I release these videos. ඔබලා සියලු දෙනාම යලිත් වාරයක් Study with Russ අධ්‍යාපනික YouTube channel එකට සාදරයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා. අද දිනේ මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ඒ පහුගිය 2018 අපොස සාමාන්‍ය පෙළ ඉංග්‍රීසි ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍රයේ ප්‍රශ්න අංක 7 සාකච්ඡා කිරීමට. ඒ වගේම මගේ channel එක තාමත් subscribe කරලා නැත්නම් ඒක subscribe කරන්න කියන එක මම bell icon එක click කරන්න කියලා මතක් කරනවා. එතකොට මේ වගේ videos නිකුත් කරන සැනින් ඔයගලන්ට දැනගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ තුලින් ඔයගල ලබා ගන්න දැනුම මම හිතනවා ඉවහල් වේවි කියලා ඔයගලන්ට ඉදිරියේ එන අපේ සාමාන්‍ය පිළ විභාග ඉංග්‍රීසි ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍රයට ඉතා හොඳින් මුහුණ දීමට. So let's see what's the question that we have to answer today. It's a comprehension based question. It says read the following text and answer the questions. So what are these comprehension based questions? Comprehension based questions are basically questions where you have a passage, you have to read and understand the passage, and then you have to answer the questions at the bottom which have been given in relation to the passage. ඒ කියන්නේ comprehension based question එකදී අපිට යම්කිසි පරිච්ඡේදයක් දීලා තියෙනවා. ඒ පරිච්ඡේදය හොඳින් කියවලා අවබෝධ කරගෙන ඒ පරිච්ඡේදය ඇසුරෙන් අසා තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න වලට පිළිතුරු සැපයීමක් තමයි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. When I went through with a lot of past papers, I have seen heaps of these kind of questions are given. It is an indication there is a greater probability that you all might encounter this kind of a question in your forthcoming examination. ඒ කියන්නේ පහුගිය ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍ර අපි යම්කිසි නිරීක්ෂණයක් කිරීමේදී අපිට හොඳින් පේන දෙයක් තමයි මේ comprehension based questions සෑහෙන ප්‍රමාණයක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ඒක අපිට යම්කිසි උපකල්පනයකට එළඹීමේ හැකියාව තියෙනවා. එමගින් මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍රයක් ඉදිරියේ තියෙන අපේ සාමාන්‍ය පෙළ විභාගයේත් ඔබලාට ගොඩක් වෙලාට පිළිතුරු සැපයීමට ඒමට ඉතා ලොකු සම්භාව්‍යතාවයක් තියෙනවා කියලා. So let's see what kind of approach that we can use in terms of answering these questions. As I'm telling you always, this question is not going to get repeated. All what we expect is by answering past papers is to develop an approach to answer a similar kind of a question comes in a future examination, how we would tackle that. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් මේ ප්‍රශ්නම ආයිත් එන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඉදිරියේදී આવොත් ඒ ප්‍රශ්නෙට ඉතා සාර්ථක පිළිතුරු සැපීමක් අපි කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියන එක තමයි අපි පහුගිය ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍ර වලට පිළිතුරු සැපීමෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. So let's see what is the approach that we can use in terms of answering this question. So the most important thing is, first thing, let's have a quick read through this passage and try to understand what this passage is all about. So අපි කරන්න ඕනේ ඉස්සෙල්ලාම මේ පරිච්ඡේදය කියවලා යම්කිසි දල අවබෝධයක් ගන්න ඕනේ මේ පැසේජ් එක මොකක් ගැනද කියලා අපි පිළිතුරු සපයන්න යන්නේ ඉස්සෙල්ලා. And also it is imperative you underline the keywords, okay, while you're reading through the passage. So let's begin our journey. All right. The pupils stopped talking as Miss Yapa entered the classroom. So we can now understand this probably must be a scenario, I mean, from a school environment. ඒ කියන්නේ යම්කිසි පාසල් පරිසර පද්ධතියකින් එන විදිහේ පරිච්ඡේදයක් කියලා අපිට දල අවබෝධයක් ගන්න පුළුවන් මේ පළවෙනි වාක්‍ය කියවන කොටම. The pupils stopped talking as Miss Yapa entered the classroom. So there was a person called Miss Yapa. She entered a classroom and the students, they were talking, they immediately stopped talking as she entered. So here I think it's important for us to underline the pupils stopped talking as Miss Yapa entered the classroom. So let's see, okay, so what comes next? Then they stood up, greeted, good morning teacher. Okay, so now you can see who she is. She is the teacher of the classroom. So as she entered, as a mark of respect, students, they stood up and greeted the teacher saying good morning. So must be the first period, the class teacher is entering, students stood up and respected the teacher. So Miss Yapa smiled and greeted them back and asked children to sit down. Okay, teacher probably must be in a good mood. Teacher said, okay, good morning, and that's how she greeted back, and she asked the children to sit down. එකනේ ගුරුතුමියත් ඉතාමත් හොඳ මුහුණුවරක ඉන්න ඇත්තේ. ගුරුතුමිය කිව්වා ඔයගලන්ටත් මම good morning කියනවා. ඒ good morning කියන ගමන් මම ඔයගලන්ට කියනවා වාඩි වෙන්න කියලා. There were 30 pupils in the class. So this is a passage where on top of the dialogue that is happening between the teacher and the students, the author himself is telling us certain things. So there were 30 pupils in the class. ඒ පන්තියේ ළමයි 30ක් ඉන්නවා. All the pupils were watching her intently, waiting to know her name. මේ පන්තියේ ඉන්න ළමයි සියලු දෙනාම ඉතාමත් සාවධානයෙන් ඉන්නවා මේ ටීචර්ගේ නම දැනගන්න. It tells us another thing because she probably must be a new teacher, so that's why they don't know teacher's name. So we can make the assumption this teacher and the students haven't met before. මේ ටීචර් ඇවිල්ලා මේ ඉස්කෝලේට මේ ගුරුතුමිය අලුතෙන් ආපු ගුරුතුමියක් වෙන්න ඇති. ඒකයි මේ ළමයි මේ ටීචර්ගේ නම තාම දන්නේ නැත්තේ. You can say all the pupils were watching her intently, waiting to know her name. Then the teacher said, I suppose you want to know my name. So teachers are really good at it, like reading the faces of students. So I mean, being with students for so many years, I mean, teachers obviously know like when students turn, like what they're up to. මේ ටීචර් ගුරුතුමී කියනවා මම හිතන්නේ උඹලන්ට මගේ නම දැනගන්න අවශ්‍යතාවයක් ඇති. But before she could tell them, someone called out, "You're Miss Yapa." Okay. So what happens? අපේ ළමයි ඉන්නවා සමහර ළමයි හරි කැමති අනිත් අයට ඉස්සෙල්ලා දෙයක් කියන්න. ඒ වගේ ළමෙක් මේ පන්තියේ සිටියා. මේ ළමයා ටීචර් නම කියන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා කිව්වා "You are Miss Yapa." Everybody laughed, including Miss Yapa. හැමදෙනාම hina වුණා. ඒ වෙච්ච දේ ගැන ටීචර්ටත් hina. News travels quickly, she said. Teacher said, okay, news travels fast. It's a kind of a proverb that you use in English, all right? So news travels quickly. So when you get to know something, you can't wait till you tell it to someone. That's the human nature. So that's how news travels, all right? So in this situation, as the teacher said, okay, news travels quickly, because teacher was a bit surprised how that girl or whoever like said the name got to know about it. So she said, news travels quickly. Miss Yapa opened the attendance register and called their names in turn. So Miss Yapa opened the register early in the morning. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ටීචර් අලුත් ගුරුතුමිය පන්තියට ඇවිල්ලා ඒ attendance register එක, ඒ කියන්නේ ළමයින්ගේ පැමිණීම සටහන් කරන නාම ලේඛනය අරගෙන ඒ නාම ලේඛනේ ඒ ළමයි සියලු දෙනාම ඇවිල්ලාද කියලා ඒ නාම ලේඛනේ ලකුණු කරන්න පටන් ගත්තා. When she came to the last name on the list, Naveen, she noticed that he had been absent over a month. Okay, so when she came to the last name of the list, she noticed a name called Naveen who had been absent for over a month. මේ ටීචර් අන්තිම නමට ආවම මේ නාම ලේඛනේ ටීචර් දැක්ක නවීන් කියන ළමයා දැන් මාසෙක ඉඳන් ඉස්කෝලේ ඇවිල්ලා නැහැ. So obviously teacher wanted to know what's going on. So teacher asked, what's the matter with Naveen? Okay, teacher හුවා නවීන්ට මොකද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? Then Naveen has been ill and still in hospital, said a girl in the front row. ඉදිරි පෙළ හිටපු ගෑනු ළමෙක් කිව්වා අපි හිතනවා මේක must be mixed school. So that's why actually you have a name called Naveen and also a girl answering from the front row. It shows you have both genders in this school. ඉදිරි පෙළ හිටපු ගෑනු ළමෙක් කිව්වා නවීන්ට අසනීපයි, නවීන් දැන්ටමත් යම් කිසි ඉස්පිරිතාලයක බෙහෙත් ගනිමින් ඉන්නවා කියලා. Then teacher wanted to know, did you all go to see him? Asked the teacher. Teacher හුවා ඔයගොල්ලන් කවුරු හරි ගියාද යාව බලන්න කියලා. So normally when one of your friends falls sick, I mean, it's natural that you all go and see him at the hospital. But in this case, let's see what happened. No one replied. It was the time to start the lesson. කවුරුත් මොකුත් කිව්වේ නැහැ. ඒත් එක්කම probably they would have rung the bell. It is the time to start the lesson. ඒ කියන්නේ දවසේ ඒ පාඩම් කටයුතු පටන් ගන්න වෙලාවත් හරි ගිහිල්ලා තිබ්බේ. Then all the students said, please tell us a story. The pupils shouted. Okay, ළමයි කිව්ව පන්තින්නේ අනේ අපිට කතාවක් කියන්න. So you can get sort of this thing from reading the last 2-3 lines. This class wouldn't have been with a teacher for a while. So there probably wouldn't have been a teacher for a while, and that probably must be the reason why the students could go to see their friend actually who is in the hospital, who is ill, because if there would have been a teacher would have arranged something. So this new teacher realized there is something wrong, what we have to correct, even though there was a request from the students to tell them a story. කියන්නේ මේ පන්තියේ යම්කිසි පන්තිභාර ගුරුවරයෙක් ඉන්න නැතුව ඇති. ඒකයි මේ අසනීපෙච්ච ළමයාව ඉස්පිරිතාලයට බලන්න යන්න කාටත් බැරි වුණේ. නමුත් දැන් අලුත් ටීචර් හිතුවා නෑ ඒ ළමයි කිව්වත් ඒ ටීචර්ට කතාවක් කියන්න කියලා. අපි ඊට ඉස්සෙල්ලා කරන්න දෙයක් තියෙනවා. ඒ දේ තමයි අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලා කරන්න ඕනේ. Let's see what is that. No. First of all, I want you to write letters to your friend Naveen. We will send the best ones to cheer him up in hospital. I will tell you a story later. Teacher go nෑ. Teachers really good at like showing students like who is in control. She was showing bit of assertiveness. She said, no, first of all there is something that we have to do. Let's do that, and then we'll see what we can do thereafter. So teacher said, you all have to first write letters, and I'm going to pick the best ones out of it and send it to the hospital to cheer your friend, and then I will tell you a story. So it's very important that if one of your friends in a hospital, like who is in isolation for a very long time, that you all, even if you can't go, you all to at least like send him something which will cheer him up. That probably would in turn work in terms of him achieving a speedy recovery. Can අපි අසනීපෙලා ඉන්න යාළුවෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් කොහේ හරි ගේක හරි ඉස්පිතාලයක හරි එයාට අපි ඒ වගේ යම්කිසි අපිට යන්න බැයි නම් අපි යම්කිසි මේ විදිහේ පණිවිඩයක් ඇරියොත් ඒ පණිවිඩය සමහර වෙලාවට එයාට ඉක්මන් සුවය ලැබීමටත් හේතුවක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. So since we have discussed now what is this passage is all about, let's see what are the questions that we have to answer. So let's look at the first question. And the other thing what you have to remember is, like, when you're answering these questions, you have to answer in sentences and also try to get as much as possible from the passage itself without putting things from your side. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට උත්තර සැපීමේදී උංගලන් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මේ වග බලා ගන්න ඕනේ ඒ උත්තර සම්පූර්ණ සෙන්ටෙන්ස් එකක් විදිහට ලියන්නත් ඒ වගේම ඒ කියන්නේ කෙටියෙන් උත්තර phrases හරි clauses close එකක් කවන්නේ phrase එකක් විදිහට ලියන්න නැතුව sentence එකක් විදිහට ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ලියන්නත් ඒ වගේම මේ passage එක තුලින් ඔයගලගේ උත්තර ලබා ගැනීමට. You will understand this better actually when I am showing you how to answer these questions. So let's look at the first question. What were the pupils doing before Miss Yapa entered? කියන්නේ මිස් යාපා කියන මේ ටීචර් පන්තියට එන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා මේ ළමයි මොනවාද කරමින් සිටියේ? The pupils stopped talking as Miss Yapa entered the classroom. So you can see in the first line it says the pupils, they were talking as Miss Yapa entered. So what they were doing? They were talking before she entered the classroom. So it's very easy. So you say straight away the pupils were. So instead of saying stop talking, you say, because they're asking what they were doing before she entered. So you're saying the pupils stopped talking as Miss Yapa entered the classroom. කතා කරමින් හිටිය ළමයි කතා කිරීම නැවැත්තුවා ඒ ටීචර් එනවා දැක්ක විගසම. එතකොට උංගල කියන්න ඕනේ මේ අහලා තියෙන්නේ මොනවාද ළමයි කරමින් හිටියේ? ළමයි ටීචර් එන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා කරමින් හිටියේ ළමයි කතා කරමින් තමයි හිටියේ ටීචර් එන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා. So we can write the pupils were talking before Miss Yapa entered the classroom. So students were talking before she entered the classroom. ළමයි කතා කරමින් හිටියා Miss Yapa. And it's very easy. So what we did was we took the first bit of it, but we changed. The pupils stopped talking to the pupils were talking, and then in the question itself, it was asked, what they were doing before she entered. So we wrote that bit as it is before Miss Yapa entered the classroom. So as you can see here, the first part of it, the pupils were talking. Then we just wrote the second part as it is. It was asked in the question before Miss Yapa entered the classroom. See how it is? That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to bring anything from outside. From the passage and the questions itself, you can make your answer. Okay. And then the second question is, how many pupils were in the class? So just look at the passage again. ළමයි කී දෙනෙක් පන්තියේ ඉන්නවාද හිටියද? So in the third line, if you look at, it says there were 30 pupils in the class. So ළමයි 30 දෙනෙක් ඒ පන්තියේ හිටියා කියලා. So all what you do is you just write this bit of the passage as it is without doing any change. See how easy it is? So we write there were 30 pupils in the class. Okay, so let's see what's the third question. In the third question, they expect us to complete a sentence. So they have given half of the sentence, and from the knowledge that we gather from this passage, we'll have to complete the sentence. The pupils wanted the teacher to do what? So let's see where we would find that. At the point where it said that it was the time to start the lesson, what did the students or the pupils said to the teacher? They said, please tell us a story. Okay, tell us a story. So the pupils wanted the teacher to do what? Pupils wanted the teacher to tell them a story. So what we do is we say that we change us into them and we say tell them a story. See how easy it is? That's what I'm saying. So you are just writing these things, the words that you find in this passage when it comes to answering these questions as it is. Only with small adjustments here and there. So we write there were 30 pupils in the class. Okay, so all what we did was we just took that bit as it is and just wrote it there. ළමයි 30ක් ඒ පන්තියේ හිටියා කියන ඒ පරිච්ඡේදය දීලා තිබු විදිහටම ඒ වාක්‍ය අපි එතනින් ලිව්වා. So let's see what's the third question. In the third question, they expect us to complete a sentence. So they have given half of the sentence, and from the knowledge that we gather from this passage, we'll have to complete the sentence. The pupils wanted the teacher to do what? So let's see where we would find that. At the point where it said that it was the time to start the lesson. So the pupils wanted the teacher to do what? Pupils wanted the teacher to tell them a story. So what we do is we say that we change us into them and we say tell them a story. See how easy it is? That's what I'm saying. So you are just writing these things, the words that you find in this passage when it comes to answering these questions as it is. Only with small adjustments here and there. Tell them a story. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Write the line which says that Naveen would receive letters from his classmates. Okay, කියන්න කියනවා අපිට මොන line එකේද මේ passage එකේ ඇඟවෙන්නේ ඒ නවීන්ට class එකේ පන්තියාගේ යාළුව ලියන ලියුම් ලැබෙන වගට. අපි දැන් බලමු passage එකේ මොන line එකකින්ද ඒක කියවෙන්නේ කියලා. අපිට තියෙන ඒ line එකේ ඒ විදිහටම මෙතන උත්තරයේ විදිහට sentence එකකින් ලියන එක. So all what we have to do is very simple. Let's have a look in the passage in which particular section it says that Naveen is going to receive the letters that his friends are going to write to him. If you look at here, it says, teacher is telling, no, first of all, I want you to write letters to your friend Naveen. Then teacher says, we will send the best ones to cheer him up in the hospital. So which sentence we will have to write? We will send the best ones to cheer him up in the hospital. So the sentence is, we will send the best ones to cheer him up in the hospital kina sentence. So as you can see here, I just wrote, we will send the best ones to cheer him up in the hospital. So what it says is basically, so Naveen, since he was in the hospital, this is the sentence which says he is going to get the letters, which probably would wish him a speedy recovery. And this is the sentence which indicate that. Naveen ඉස්පිරිතාල ඉන්න සිසුවට සුබපතල ඒ ළමයි යවන ලියුම් ලැබෙන බවට අපිට මේ sentence එකෙන් තමයි දැක ගන්නට පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. So the last question is, the word intently in the passage means, underline the correct answer. So here as you can see, in the fourth line you can see pupils are watching her intently. So as I explained you, when I was explaining the passage, intently means earnest and eager attention. So that means you are looking at something with a lot of focus. Again, අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා නම් ඉතාමත් සාවධානයෙන් අහුම්කන් දෙනවා කියන සාවධානයෙන් බලන් ඉන්නවා කියන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩාක් උවමනාවෙන් බලන් ඉන්නවා වගේ අර්ථයක් තමයි intently කියන adverb එකෙන් අපිට පැහැදිලි වෙන්නේ. එතකොට so they are asking us to find a word that gives a similar meaning, like a synonym. Okay, you can සමායෝජන කියන්නේ. So the first one what they have given is by chance. So what is by chance? So by chance in the sense it's like something not planned. Again, අපි සැලසුම් කරපු නැති දෙයක් වෙනකොට අපි කියනවා it happens by chance කියලා. එතකොට ඒක නෙමෙයි එතනට එන හරි වචනේ, ඒකට සමාන වචනේ. attentively කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම attentively කියන්නේ close attention. ඒ කියන්නේ යමක් දිහා ඉතා කිට්ටුවෙන් බලන් ඉන්නවා වගේ දෙයක් තමයි අපි attentively කියන පදයෙන් අපිට මේ තේරුම් යන්නේ. එතකොට so attentively and intently pretty much have the same thing in common. That means you're looking at something with a lot of focus. That means you're giving something a lot of attention. So the correct answer is the word that gives the similar meaning to intently, which is in the passage out of these three words, is attentively. So for your benefit, I'll just explain you the last word in that list, though we have already decided, we have already chosen our answer. That is silently. Silently so what do you understand by silently? Silently means you are making no sound. කියන්නේ කිසිම සද්දයක් නැතුව කට වහගෙන ඉන්නවා වගේ අර්ථයක් තමයි silently කියන එකෙන් අපිට අදහස් වෙන්නේ. So it has nothing to do with this question that I just explained for your benefit. So as you can see, it's a very easy exercise, but only thing is, as I explained to you, you have to follow that approach. When you follow the approach, you can have the confidence that you can answer all these questions without making any errors. It is really important that you score marks in these kind of questions, because these are the questions where you can score full marks. ඉතාම පහසු ප්‍රශ්නයක්. නමුත් අපි යම්කිසි ප්‍රවේශයක් අනුගමනය කරන්න ඕනේ මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්නයකදී උත්තර සැපීමට. ඒතකොට තමයි අපිට මේ ඉතාමත් හොඳින් අපිට හිතන්න පුළුවන් අපි මේ ප්‍රශ්නයකට මුහුණ දුන්නා කියලා.